The crash and the discovery, the desert was silent. No wind, no birds, just hot air and endless sand. Ray was walking alone, holding a metal detector in one hand and a small backpack on his shoulder. He wasn't rich, he wasn't important, he was just a scavenger. Every day he searched the wastelands for broken tech metal parts or anything valuable from crashed ships. That day felt different. Suddenly, the metal detector beeped, loudly. Ray stopped. He looked around, nothing in sight. He began digging. Into the sand, his hands working fast. After a few minutes, his fingers touched something smooth and cold. He dug more and saw metal, silver, shiny, and clearly not from Earth. A pod? He whispered. Yes, it was a small alien escape pod, half buried in the sand. Burn marks covered the side. It looked damaged, like it crashed a long time ago. Ray hesitated. Should he open it? Curiosity won. He pressed the emergency latch, and the pod hissed open. White mist escaped. Inside, lying unconscious, was an alien girl. She had glowing blue skin, soft silver hair, and faint patterns running down her arms like stars. She wore a tight spacesuit torn on the sides. She looked human-like, but clearly not human. Ray took a step back. What the hell? The girl opened her eyes slowly. They were large, glowing, and full of fear. Easy. Easy, Ray said, lifting both hands. I won't hurt you. She didn't speak, but she sat up, weak and shaking. Her lips moved, but the words were strange, another language. Still, she didn't attack. She simply watched him, studying him. Ray gave her water from his canteen. She drank it like it was the first time in days. She tried to stand, but her legs were weak. Ray offered his arm. She looked at it, then slowly held it. Together, they walked back toward his small camp, just a broken-down shelter made of metal sheets and a solar battery. That night, Ray gave her food. She sniffed it, poked it, then finally ate it slowly. She still didn't speak English, but she watched his every move and mimicked him. When he smiled, she smiled. When he drank, she drank. He decided to name her Eula. It sounded soft, like her. That night under the stars, Eula sat near the fire while Ray repaired a broken drone. Suddenly, she stood up. She looked at him, then toward the darkness, then back at him again. You okay? Ray asked. She didn't reply. She turned and walked away toward the sand dunes. Ray stood quickly. Wait, where are you going? She kept walking, quiet and calm, like she was looking for something. Ray followed her, keeping some distance. The moonlight made her glowing skin shine faintly. She stopped behind a large rock, then crouched down. Ray was confused. He waited, and then it happened. A soft, glowing light appeared beneath her. Not from her suit, from inside her. Ray's eyes widened. He stepped closer, curious. What she left behind on the sand were not normal waste. They were shining, colorful jewels, round, perfect, glowing like tiny suns. Some looked like diamonds, others like rubies or sapphires. They were beautiful, clean, untouched. Ray's mouth fell open. What the hell did I just see? Jula stood up again, acting like nothing strange happened. She brushed her hands and walked back toward the camp. Ray slowly picked up one jewel. It was warm, almost alive. He followed her, holding the gem tightly. Back. At camp, Eula sat down and fell asleep quickly near the fire. Ray couldn't sleep. He kept staring at the jewel, turning it in his fingers. It was real, solid. No tech inside. Just pure gemstone. From her? He looked at her face in the firelight. Peaceful, resting, innocent. Ray whispered to himself, "Who are you?" But deep in his heart, he knew one thing already. This alien girl was no ordinary survivor. She was something rare, something strange, and maybe something very valuable. And the question that now haunted Ray's mind wasn't, what is she? It was, how many more of these can she make? The truth behind the jewels. Ray didn't sleep that night. He just sat beside the fire, staring at the gemstone in his hand, smooth, glowing, warm. It wasn't from Earth, it wasn't fake. It had no cracks or flaws. And it had come out of her. The alien girl. Eula. She lay peacefully, curled under a thermal blanket. Her soft blue skin shimmered under the firelight. She looked innocent, quiet, almost like a dream. But Ray knew now. She wasn't normal. Not even by alien standards. By morning, he had made up his mind. He needed answers. Ray walked into the nearest outpost the next day. Ridge 9, a dusty border town full of scavengers, mercs, and ex-miners. He kept the gemstone hidden deep inside his boot. He found a trader he trusted. Old Man Graff, a blind jeweler who could still tell real from fake just by touch. Ray placed the gem in his hand without saying a word. Graff paused, rubbed his fingers over the surface, held it under the light. His face changed. "Where the hell did you get this?" he whispered. Ray said nothing. Graff took out a scanner. The screen lit up instantly. "Purity, 100%, it read. "Origin, unknown." "This isn't synthetic," Graff said slowly. "Not lab-grown, not mined. This is perfect. I've only heard of stones like this in legends." Ray leaned closer. "What kind of legends?" Graff looked up. "Have you ever heard of the Urellan Royals?" Ray shook his head. Graff lowered his voice. "They were an ancient alien species, long gone. Stories say their bodies produced crystalline material, diamonds, rubies, and other stones. But it wasn't magic. It was biological. Their waste was treasure." Ray's heart skipped. "Most people think it's myth," Graff continued. "But if what I'm holding is real, and it came from a living source, boy, you're in trouble." Ray quickly grabbed the stone back and left. Back at the camp, Jula was sitting cross-legged, playing with a small robot toy Ray had left behind. She looked up and smiled when she saw him, but Ray didn't smile back. He sat across from her, holding the gem in his hand again. "Do you know what this is?" he asked slowly, pointing. She nodded. "You made this, right?" he asked again. She nodded once more, this time a little shyly. Ray sighed. "Why?" Jula tried to explain, but her words were broken. Still, she pointed to her stomach, then to the stone. Then she made a sick gesture, followed by a relief gesture. Ray got it. It wasn't something she wanted to do. It was something her body forced her to do. Her kind pooped gems when their body needed to. It was natural to her, but unnatural to everything Ray had ever known. Then Jula did something strange. She took a stick and drew something in the sand. It was a symbol, a tall tower with fire on top. Then she drew people, bowing to it. Next, to it she drew another small figure, alone, surrounded by chains. Ray pointed. "That's you?" She nodded. It hit him. She wasn't just from a legendary race, she was a prisoner, a refugee, maybe even an escaped lab subject. Ray packed their things fast. "We have to move," he told her. "People will come looking for you." But it was already too late. As night fell, a small ship hovered in the sky above them. Silent, black, no markings. Ray turned off the fire and pulled Eula behind a sandhill. They watched as 3 dark figures stepped out of the ship, wearing black suits and thermal goggles, Federation agents. They had scanners. They were searching for biosignatures. One of them pointed to the ground and shouted something. Ray knew they had minutes. He grabbed Eula's hand and whispered, "Run!" They ran into the dark desert, ducking under rocks and dodging sensor drones. Eula's glowing skin made her easy to spot, so Ray rubbed ash over her arms and face to hide her light. Finally, they reached a deep canyon and crawled into a cave. Both of them were breathing hard. Jula looked at him with scared eyes. Ray wiped sweat from his forehead. "They're not here to help you, Jula. They're here to take you apart." She touched his chest and whispered, "Ray, safe." He blinked. Did she just say his name? Ray looked at her, really looked at her. This girl, this glowing alien, had dropped into his life out of nowhere. She was kind, scared, mysterious, and inside her, she carried more wealth than 10 planets combined. But she wasn't just treasure, she was alive. And Ray now knew, if anyone found her, they'd never let her live. That night, as Jula slept curled beside him in the cave, Ray stared at the cave ceiling. He wasn't just a scavenger anymore, he was now a protector. And the galaxy would soon know why that mattered. She's not just an alien. The cave was cold. Ray woke up to the sound of small footsteps echoing behind him. He sat up quickly, reaching for his tool blade, heart racing. But it was just Hula, moving around quietly, holding her stomach and looking uncomfortable. She didn't speak, but Ray could tell. Something was wrong. "Are you okay?" he asked, crawling closer. Jula shook her head slightly and touched her belly. Her skin was glowing again, brighter than usual, and strange golden. Veins were pulsing along her arms, her breathing was fast, her eyes watery. "Is it the thing again?" Ray whispered, pointing gently to her side, remembering how she had released the gemstone 2 days ago. She nodded once, then clutched her stomach with a painful hiss. Ray panicked. "Wait, are you sick? Is something stuck? What do I do?" Eula dropped to her knees and tried to breathe slowly. Her whole body was flickering like a dying light bulb. She looked like she was going to pass out. Ray supported her gently, laying her back on a flat rock. "Don't worry, I'm here. I won't let anything happen to you." She looked into his eyes, and for the first time she whispered, "Urella." Ray blinked. "What's that?" She pointed to herself. "Urella," she said again, then tapped her chest as if repeating a name. No, it wasn't a name. Ray pulled out his small tablet and searched the word with the last bit of battery power. A result popped up. Ancient language. Archive entry. Urella, royal caste of the Zolari species. Extinct. Then came the full line. Urella, the gem-wombed ones. Once worshipped as divine, their bodies produced stones of energy and beauty. Hunted, exploited, erased from history. Ray stared at the screen in disbelief. She wasn't just an alien. She was royalty. Outside the cave, something buzzed in the air. Ray quickly stepped outside to check. A small drone was flying past the canyon wall, scanning for signs of life. He ducked low and pulled Hula deeper into the shadows. But she was in worse shape now. Her skin was burning up, glowing from within, like she was about to burst into light. She gasped in pain and pointed to the floor, pleading with her hands, almost begging for permission to release. Ray nodded quickly. "Go ahead, I'll cover you." He turned away respectfully and gave her space. A few moments later, he heard a soft tink. 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 Then silence. When he turned back, she looked weaker, but her color was returning to normal. She was alive, breathing better. On the ground, beside her were 3 new gems, each one pulsing like a heartbeat. But one of them was different. It wasn't glowing randomly. It was flashing in a pattern. Ray picked it up and examined it. The center of the gem shimmered, and tiny symbols danced across its surface. "This isn't just a jewel," he muttered. "It's a message." Later that night, Hula was finally sleeping peacefully. Ray sat by the fire staring at the blinking jewel in his hand. He connected it to his translator device. A voice echoed from the gem. A woman's voice. Calm. Royal. "To any Urella descendant, if you hold this, then the blood still lives. Go to the hidden refuge. Coordinates attached. Do not trust the Federation. The royal line must survive." Ray's eyes widened. So, There was a sanctuary, others like her, hidden somewhere in the stars. He looked at Jula. She was the last hope of her kind, and now she held the key to something far bigger than either of them understood. But as the message ended, the screen flashed again. Warning, tracking signal active. Transmission detected. His stomach dropped. He'd just triggered a beacon. Someone, or something, now knew their exact location. Ray jumped to his feet. We have to move. Now. He gently woke Jula, who rubbed her eyes and sat up slowly. He pointed to the sky. Bad people coming. Understand? She nodded weakly. Ray packed quickly. Water, gems, tools, blanket, and the jewel message. But just as they were about to leave the cave, a sound froze them in place. A voice, mechanical and cold, came from a floating speaker outside. This is Galactic Authority Drone 99. Surrender the bio-subject. She is property of Unified Science Directive. Jula's body tensed. Her eyes glowed brighter, not in fear, but in anger. Ray whispered, We're not surrendering. Let's run. But she stopped him. She stepped forward, calm and proud, and raised her hand. The gems on the ground behind her levitated, floating into the air, spinning, glowing red-hot. Ray watched in awe. She wasn't just royalty. She was powerful. That night, something changed between them. Jula was no longer just a lost alien girl. Ray no longer saw her as someone who needed saving. They were now partners, on the run, in danger, with a mission. And as they disappeared into the night, Ray whispered under his breath, Let them come. She's not just an alien. She's a freaking queen. The cave was cold. Ray woke up to the sound of small footsteps echoing behind him. He sat up quickly, reaching for his tool blade, heart racing. But it was just Jula, moving around, quietly, holding her stomach and looking uncomfortable. She didn't speak, but Ray could tell. Something was wrong. Are you okay? He asked, crawling closer. Jula shook her head slightly and touched her belly. Her skin was glowing again, brighter than usual, and strange golden veins were pulsing along her arms. Her breathing was fast, her eyes watery. Is it the thing again? Ray whispered, pointing gently to her side, remembering how she had released the gemstone 2 days ago. She nodded once, then clutched her stomach with a painful hiss. Ray panicked. Wait, are you sick? Is something stuck? What do I do? Jula dropped to her knees and tried to breathe slowly. Her whole body was flickering like a dying light bulb. She looked like she was going to pass out. Ray supported her gently, laying her back on a flat rock. Don't worry, I'm here. I won't let anything happen to you. She looked into his eyes, and for the first time she whispered, Urella. Ray blinked. What's that? She pointed to herself. Urella, she said again, then tapped her chest as if repeating a name. No, it wasn't a name. Ray pulled out his small tablet and searched the word with the last bit of battery power. A result popped up. Ancient language. Archive entry. Urella, royal caste of the Zolari species. Extinct. Then came the full line. Urella, the gem-wombed ones. Once worshipped as divine, their bodies produced stones of energy and beauty. Hunted, exploited, erased from history. Ray stared at the screen in disbelief. She wasn't just an alien. She was royalty. Outside the cave, something buzzed in the air. Ray quickly stepped outside to check. A small drone was flying past the canyon wall, scanning for signs of life. He ducked low and pulled Jula deeper into the shadows. But she was in worse shape now. Her skin was burning up, glowing from within, like she was about to burst into light. She gasped in pain and pointed to the floor, pleading with her hands, almost. Begging for permission to release, Ray nodded quickly. Go ahead, I'll cover you. He turned away respectfully and gave her space. A few moments later, he heard a soft tink. 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 then silence. When he turned back, she looked weaker, but her color was returning to normal. She was alive, breathing better. On the ground, beside her were 3 new gems, each one pulsing like a heartbeat. But one of them was different. It wasn't glowing randomly. It was flashing in a pattern. Ray picked it up and examined it. The center of the gem shimmered, and tiny symbols danced across its surface. "This isn't just a jewel," he muttered. "It's a message." Later that night, Hula was finally sleeping peacefully. Ray sat by the fire staring at the blinking jewel in his hand. He connected it to his translator device. A voice echoed from the gem. A woman's voice. Calm. Royal. "To any Urella descendant, if you hold this, then the blood still lives. Go to the hidden refuge. Coordinates attached. Do not trust the Federation. The royal line must survive." Ray's eyes widened. So, there was a sanctuary? Others like her? Hidden somewhere in the stars? He looked at Jula. She was the last hope of her kind, and now she held the key to something far bigger than either of them understood. But as the message ended, the screen flashed again. Warning. Tracking signal active. Transmission detected. His stomach dropped. He'd just triggered a beacon. Someone, or something, now knew their exact location. Ray jumped to his feet. "We have to move. Now." He gently woke Jula, who rubbed her eyes and sat up slowly. He pointed to the sky. "Bad people coming. Understand?" She nodded weakly. Ray packed quickly. Water, gems, tools, blanket, and the jewel message. But just as they were about to leave the cave, a sound froze them in place. A voice, mechanical and cold, came from a floating speaker outside. "This is Galactic Authority Drone 99. Surrender the bio-subject. She is property of Unified Science Directive." Jula's body tensed. Her eyes glowed brighter, not in fear, but in anger. Ray whispered, "We're not surrendering. Let's run." But she stopped him. She stepped forward, calm and proud, and raised her hand. The gems on the ground behind her levitated, floating into the air, spinning, glowing red-hot. Ray watched in awe. She wasn't just royalty. She was powerful. That night, something changed between them. Jula was no longer just a lost alien girl. Ray no longer saw her as someone who needed saving. They were now partners, on the run, in danger, with a mission. And as they disappeared into the night, Ray whispered under his breath, "Let them come. She's not just an alien, she's a freaking queen." The hunt begins. They ran, through sharp canyon paths, across rocky hills, over sand so dry it cracked beneath their boots. Ray's lungs burned. His heart pounded. Jula kept pace beside him, silent, focused, glowing faintly with every step. Her energy was returning, but so was the danger. Behind them, in the distance, a low hum grew louder. Federation hunter drones. Ray cursed under his breath. "They're tracking the signal. The jewel gave us away." Jula looked at him with calm eyes. She didn't seem scared. She seemed angry. "We need to hide," Ray said, scanning the land. "No caves, no fire, no tech. They can trace all of it." She pointed to the east, toward a dead forest full of black twisted trees. It looked like a place even the wind avoided. Ray hesitated. "Seriously? That place looks cursed." She gave him a look that clearly meant, "Trust me." He sighed. Okay. Ladies first, Gem Queen." Inside the forest, it was cooler, quiet. The twisted trees blocked the sun, and strange alien birds fluttered above. It felt haunted. They made camp in the roots of a massive hollow tree. No fire. No lights. Ray sat close to Jula as the sky darkened above. "We'll rest here for one night. Then we move toward those coordinates," he said, holding the blinking jewel message in his hand. "We'll find this sanctuary of yours." Jula nodded, but her attention was on something else. Her eyes glowed slightly as she touched the ground and whispered in her own language. The wind shifted. Ray didn't understand the words, but he understood the power behind them. Elsewhere, the hunter ship landed. A tall man stepped out, not a robot, not a scientist. He was called Commander Valak, head of Federation containment, known for capturing rare creatures alive or dead. His face was sharp like a knife, his voice colder than steel. "She was confirmed in this sector?" he asked his drone assistant. "Yes, Commander," the machine replied. "Organic signature matches Urella DNA." Valak smiled. "Prepare the extractors. This alien girl will fund 1,000 labs, and the human with her will feed him to the dogs." Back in the forest, Ray woke up to the sound of rustling. Jula was standing near the edge of the camp, her glowing hand pressed against a tree trunk. "Jula," he called softly. She didn't turn. The tree she was touching was changing. Its bark shimmered and twisted. Something beneath the surface moved like light crawling under skin. Ray approached slowly. "What are you doing?" She turned to him and smiled faintly. "Tree. Protect." Suddenly, the wind howled, and a voice came from high above. "There they are." Federation scouts dropped in with jetpacks, dark suits, red visors, rifles aimed. Ray grabbed his tool blade and stood in front of Jula. "Run!" he shouted, but Jula didn't run. She stepped forward, her body lit up, veins glowing gold, eyes bright like stars. She raised both hands. The ground rumbled. Ray backed away, eyes wide. The trees came alive. Branches twisted like arms, roots shot from the ground like spears. The forest itself moved to protect her. The Federation scouts screamed as the earth swallowed them whole. One dragged into a tree trunk, another snatched by vines midair. Only one managed to escape, fleeing back to the ship. Jula collapsed into Ray's arms, breathing heavily. "That was insane," Ray whispered. "You are nature's secret weapon." She gave a tired smile and whispered, "Urella, connected." Ray helped her sit. "We can't stay. They'll send more." Suddenly, from her chest pocket, she pulled a tiny metal cube and placed it in Ray's hand. It opened, projecting a 3D map. The sanctuary. It was real. Deep within an asteroid belt inside a hidden moon surrounded by cloaking fields, untouchable to most. But not if you held the royal gem key. Ray looked up. "This is it. We get there and they'll stop hunting you." But Jula shook her head. "They hunt more, not just me." "What do you mean?" Ray asked. She pointed to the stars. "Many. Urella. Sleeping. Hiding. Frozen." Ray understood. She wasn't just saving herself. She was trying to wake her people. Back at Federation HQ, Commander Valak slammed his hand on the table. "You said she was weak," he shouted. "She is evolving," the scientist replied nervously. "The human must be helping her adapt," Valak growled. "Then let's make him the weakness." He looked into the camera. "New order. Do not kill the human. Take him alive. She cares for him, and we will use that." That night, Ray stood alone outside the forest cave watching the stars. He thought about his old life, scrap hunting, lonely days, worthless credits. Now he was protecting a princess, fighting trees, dodging bounty hunters. "Yep," he muttered, "totally normal week." Behind him, Eula stepped out, gently placing her hand on his. He looked at her. "You ready to finish this?" She nodded, and for the first time she whispered in clear, broken English. "Together." The jewel trap Ray dug into the sand. Sweat rolling down his face. This time he wasn't searching for metal scraps or old tech. He was building a trap made of lies and jewels. Behind him, Eula knelt quietly, placing 3 glowing gemstones on a flat rock. Each gem was polished and perfect, except these weren't real. They were hollow copies, made by Eula herself, with a small drop of her bioenergy. Bright, enough to fool scanners, but worthless inside. Ray grinned. They'll smell profit and walk right into it. Jula looked unsure. Dangerous, she warned. Ray nodded. Yeah, that's the point. Earlier that day, Ray had intercepted a base gear Federation broadcast. Subject is confirmed in Sector D4. Repeat. Asset Urella and human accomplice must be taken alive. Use bait if necessary. They were getting smarter. So Ray decided to be smarter first. He sent a fake signal, coordinates pointing to an abandoned outpost near a canyon's edge. Then he and Jula filled the old ruins with decoy gems, set traps on pressure plates, and waited inside a nearby cliff cave with a spy drone. Hours passed. Nothing. Then the dust rose. 2 black hovercrafts landed. 6 armed bounty hunters jumped out, guns drawn, red visors blinking. Ray adjusted the drone cam. Showtime. The first man stepped into the ruins. Jackpot, he muttered, picking up one of the fake jewels. They weren't even trying to hide this. The others laughed. One of them tapped his communicator. Commander Valak, we have visual. Confirming Urellan product. Requesting extraction. Valak's voice replied coldly. Bring it. Leave no witnesses. Ray watched. The screen. Good, come closer. As the hunters walked further inside, one stepped on a small metal plate. Click. A flash grenade exploded, blinding everyone in white light. Then the traps activated. Metal nets dropped from above, binding 2 men to the floor. The ground panels shifted, shooting up hot steam and sonic pulses. Chaos erupted. In the middle of the confusion, Jula whispered something under her breath. The gems she left behind began vibrating. One by one, they burst, blasting sharp light and dust into the air, not enough to kill, but enough to disorient and terrify. Ray and Jula stepped out of hiding, weapons ready. One hunter saw them and fired. Ray rolled behind a wall and shouted, "Go for the leader!" Jula leapt forward, moving faster than any human could. Her body glowed like a comet. She struck the shooter with a burst of golden energy that sent him flying through a wall. Ray stared. Okay, remind me to never make you mad. Suddenly, a voice shouted from behind the wreckage, "Stop!" It was Commander Valak himself, standing tall, his weapon aimed not at Jula, but at Ray. "You move, alien girl, and the human dies," he growled. Jula froze, her energy flickered. Her hands dropped. Valak stepped closer. "That's it, you've bonded with him, haven't you? Emotion, attachment, predictable." Ray looked at Jula. "Don't listen to him. You know what to do." But she didn't move. She was breathing fast, eyes full of fear and pain. Valak laughed. "You think she's powerful, boy? She's just a pretty lab experiment. Her kind died, for a reason. She's next." Then he fired, straight at Ray. But the bullet never reached him. Jula stepped in front. The shot hit her shoulder. She screamed and dropped to the ground, smoke rising from her skin. Ray caught her before she fell completely. "Jula!" he shouted, shaking her gently. Her eyes flickered open. Her voice was weak, but clear. "Ray. Now." Ray turned and saw the gems, every single one around them, glowing red. Jula raised a trembling hand and whispered something ancient, and the gems exploded. Not in fire, but in pure light. Blinding, pulsing waves of sound and energy that knocked every remaining hunter off their feet, including Valak. Ray shielded Jula with his body as the light burned around them. Then, silence. When he opened his eyes again, the hunters were unconscious. The hovercrafts were cracked open. Valak lay buried under fallen rubble, unmoving. Ray looked down. Jula's breathing was shallow. "Hey," he whispered. "You saved me. Again." She smiled weakly. "Too many gems used, need rest." Ray held her close. "Then rest. I'll get us out of here." He stood, lifting her gently, her head resting on his shoulder. And as they walked into the desert light, Ray knew one thing for sure. This wasn't about money anymore. This was about loyalty, sacrifice, survival. And if they wanted to take her again, they'd have to go through him. The Federation's interest deep inside a black titanium ship orbiting the planet's upper atmosphere. A room full of high-ranking Federation officers watched a hologram replay. The image showed Eula, glowing, stepping in front of a bullet. Then, a light explosion from the gemstones that blinded and disarmed every soldier on the ground. She disabled an elite capture squad using nothing but her biological discharge, one officer said. And she protected the human with her body, another added. Sitting at the head of the room was Director Velnar, the cold-hearted chief of the Galactic Research Division. His eyes didn't blink. His silver implants whirred quietly as he leaned forward. "She's not just one of the Urella," he said. "She's something more." A younger officer frowned. "Permission to ask, sir?" Velnar nodded. "If Urella were wiped out a century ago, how is she alive?" The room fell silent. Then Velnar spoke. "She's a seed survivor, a rare genetic project designed to hide among stars, escape extinction, and awaken only if a royal sanctuary signal is detected," another officer asked. "So why is she bonding with a human?" Velnar smirked. "Because the Urella don't choose based on species. They choose based on instinct. And now, she's chosen him." On the surface, Ray walked carefully through a narrow ravine carrying Jula in his arms. Her body was warm, too warm. The wound on her shoulder was closed, but glowing cracks spread across her skin like lightning. She was still breathing, but barely. "Hang in there," Ray whispered. "We're almost there." They were following the coordinates stored in the blinking jewel, the key to the Urella sanctuary. But they weren't alone. Above them, hidden in the sky, the Federation's orbital needle moved into position, ready to drop soldiers or laser strikes at a moment's notice. Back at the Federation base, Director Velnar turned to his AI assistant. "Do we have a clean shot?" "Negative," the AI replied. "The human is shielding her. The blast radius would kill both." Velnar's voice grew colder. "I don't care. Prepare a non-lethal stasis beam. We'll freeze them in time if we must. I want her alive and aware." Ray finally reached a cliffside and found what he was looking for, a rock wall covered in old symbols. He placed the jewel into the center of the largest symbol. It pulsed. A hidden door slowly opened, revealing a tunnel glowing with soft blue light. "Just a little more, Eula," he whispered, stepping inside. The tunnel was warm. The air smelled like flowers and minerals. Ray had never felt peace like this before. He walked into a giant underground chamber and stopped. Statues, dozens of tall figures made of crystal, each one resembling Jula, stood frozen in perfect form. And then, movement. One of the statues flickered, glowed, and opened its eyes. A female voice echoed through the chamber. "You bring the last seed, and a human mate." Ray stepped back. "Who said that?" A figure stepped out of the shadows. A tall Urella priestess, her body made of semi-solid crystal, her hair floating like stardust. "I am Keeper Tyla," she said softly. "This is the resting place of the Urella. And she looked at Jula in Ray's arms, has awakened us." Ray placed Jula gently on a glowing platform. "She's dying," he said. "Please help her." Tyla placed a hand over Eula's heart. Light passed between them. "She is not dying," Tyla said. "She is transforming. The full bloom of her kind has begun." Ray frowned. "Bloom?" Tyla looked at him. "The Urella are born soft and quiet, but when bonded to someone they trust, their full power awakens. She has chosen, and now she's becoming the first living core in 100 years. Above, in space, the Federation locked onto the sanctuary's energy pulse. "We found them," the AI said. Director Velnar's fingers twitched. "Deploy the needle. Begin extraction." But just as the weapon powered up, every crystal statue below began to glow. Hundreds of Urella waking up. Ray stepped back, speechless. "Are they alive?" Tyla smiled. The bond awakened more than just her. It called home every sleeping fragment. The Urella are returning. Suddenly, Jula's eyes snapped open. Bright gold, her voice echoed across the entire chamber, stronger, deeper, laced with power. No more cages, no more pain. I will protect this bond, and my people. She rose slowly into the air. Her wounds vanished. Her dress changed into shimmering crystal armor. Ray whispered, "Jula." She looked at him, smiled, and held out her hand. He took it without question. And behind her, hundreds of glowing figures stepped forward, eyes bright, bodies strong, ready for war or peace depending on what came next. In orbit, Director Velnar stared at the power reading from the planet. "Stand down," he ordered. His officers blinked. "Sir?" He narrowed his eyes. "If we go down now, we won't come back up." A royal secret and a new home Jula floated above the ancient platform, her eyes glowing like twin suns. The chamber around her pulsed with life as dozens of once frozen Urella slowly awoke, stretching their arms, blinking at the light, and, feeling air for the first time in centuries, Ray stood beneath her, eyes wide, heart pounding. The girl he once found half buried in the desert wasn't a scared survivor anymore. She was now Queen Jula of the Urella, and every single awakened crystal being was kneeling before her. One of the elder Urella stepped forward, a male with clear, jagged crystal skin and bright emerald veins. He bowed and said, "You carry the royal core, my queen, the seed born only once every 1,000 years, and you've bonded with a human?" Jula looked down at Ray and nodded. "I chose him," she said calmly. "Not for power, not for strength, but for kindness. He saw me as a person, not a product." Ray blushed slightly. "Well, yeah, you did kind of poop gemstones in front of me, so I figured trust was mutual." Some of the Urella chuckled, a soft, chiming sound like wind through crystal trees. Jula stepped down beside Ray and held out her hand. He took it without hesitation. Then she looked around at her people. "For too long, we were hunted, frozen, forgotten," she declared. "But now we remember who we are, and the galaxy will remember too." The crowd cheered, light bursting from their bodies like fireworks. But before celebration could begin, a warning echoed across the chamber. "Incoming vessel entering atmosphere. Federation signature confirmed." Ray turned to Jula. "You think they'll try again?" She didn't answer right away. Instead, she walked to the central altar and pressed her hand into it. The ground shook. The sanctuary roof opened slowly, revealing the sky. A massive ship hovered above, black, cold, and full of weapons. Inside, Director Velnar stood behind a screen, watching Jula's glowing form rise into view. "This is your last chance," his voice boomed through a loudspeaker. "Turn yourself in or we erase everything below." Ray stepped forward, but Jula gently pushed him back. "No," she said. "This is my burden." Then she floated higher, until she stood in the open air, looking directly into the ship's scanner. Her voice echoed, amplified by the crystals in the canyon walls. "I am not your subject. I am not your experiment. I am the last royal core of Urella, and the beginning of something new." She raised her hand. A beam of pure golden light shot upward, piercing the clouds. Inside the Federation ship, alarm screamed. "Warning! Incoming energy overload!" Director Velnar froze as the ship's power grid began to flicker. "Shut it down," he barked. "Evacuate. We're not equipped for this level of bioenergy." Seconds later, the ship veered upward and fled into the stars, leaving smoke and fear behind. Back in the sanctuary, the Urella bowed again, but Jula turned to Ray and whispered, "Come." She led him through another tunnel, a quiet path filled with glowing plants and soft crystal lights. At the end was a large chamber with a pool of silver water. "This was meant for my future mate," Jula said softly. "But I never thought he would be human." Ray blinked. "Wait, are you saying—" She held his face gently. "Your touch woke me. Your kindness saved me. Your heart completed me." The pool began to glow. Suddenly, strange images floated in the water, visions of a future, a tall human girl with crystal lines in her skin, a boy with glowing eyes, laughter, peace, a world where humans and Urella lived side by side. Ray stepped back, stunned. "These are our children?" Jula smiled. "If you accept me." Ray looked at her for a long moment. Then he grinned. "Well, I always did like shiny things." Years later, a new settlement stood on the desert world, half human, half Urella, a place of peace, trade, and learning. In the center of the town stood a statue, not of Jula alone, and not of Ray, but of both of them, holding hands, surrounded by Urella children with bright eyes and giggling human kids. The plaque below read, "She brought the jewels, he brought the heart. Together they gave the galaxy something priceless, hope,